Let me first thank you for holding this oversight hearing today on GSA's Recovery Act funds. It seems that Congress is now in the position of having put the cart before the horse by frankly passing legislation that contains no oversight and yet demanding after the money is spent or has been out the door to have some oversight, which is why this is such an important hearing. We recently saw the consequences of frankly hastily enacted legislation, significant and expensive legislation without oversight with the ongoing scandals that we continue to read about and see regarding and resulting from the TARP money. That's why, again, I want to thank the Chairwoman for holding this hearing today to allow us some opportunity for oversight of the funds for the GSA projects. As the Chairwoman said, the Recovery Act included $5.5 billion for the GSA Federal Building Fund. And considering this huge investment, and we know that potential is there for waste, frankly. The Chairwoman herself just talked about that. The federal real property has been on the GAO's high-risk list since 2003, and according to the GAO, long-standing problems in the federal real property area have multi-billion-dollar cost implications to the taxpayer, obviously, and to GSA. So the workload for GSA with regards to federal buildings has tripled now under this legislation, creating obviously more potential for problems, for mismanagement, for waste, for cost overrun. So the last thing, obviously, that American taxpayers need or want to see are projects that are started and then all of a sudden they're not finished because they're too costly, there's not enough money, the money is misspent, or coming back to Congress for more money because those funds were not sufficient for the projects that were started. Again, we need to make sure that the money is well spent, and that's why I want to thank the Chairwoman for this hearing. At a hearing on January, the GAO recommended 3 guiding principles for GSA projects funded under this Recovery Act. Number 1, it was to create well-defined goals based on identified areas of interest. Number 2 was to incorporate performance and accountability into funding decisions. And 3, employ the best tools and approaches to emphasize return on investment. Now here lies a bit of the problem. None of these practical suggestions to help avoid wasteful spending of taxpayers' money was incorporated into the bill, which is, I think, too bad. Now, however, I am interested in knowing if GSA's recommendations, again, the employment of these principles, if that's the objective of GSA to make sure that we don't have the problems that we could have. So while the stated purpose of the Recovery Act was to stimulate jobs, the bill also set aside $4.5 billion of the $5.5 billion to convert GSA facilities to high-performance green buildings, as identified in Section 401 of the Energy Independence and Security Act. So obviously, we all recognize that energy conservation and independence is an important goal. It's a very important goal. However, it's also important to realize that this was a stimulus bill, and ensuring tax dollars, including the bill, are there to create jobs has to be the primary goal. And I think it is, but it has to be the primary goal of GSA. Unfortunately, and we had this conversation last week, we have yet to see the number of jobs that are going to be created by those funded projects, and I'm hoping that those will be forthcoming. In addition, among the requirements of the Energy Act, reducing energy, water, and material resources use, improving indoor environmental quality, including acoustic environments, and considering the indoor and outdoor effects of the building. Again, that's part of the Act. So there lies part of the challenge. Create jobs or do this other part that is also required. I, for one, think, obviously, that the purpose of this bill was to create jobs and create them immediately. I'm pleased, again, that the Chairwoman is holding this oversight hearing, and she is very committed to doing this, and I want to thank her for that. I do remain concerned. There is still tremendous potential for mismanagement and for waste, and the number of jobs that these projects will create, again, has yet to be demonstrated. So again, while many of the projects may be worthy, and frankly, even some of them very necessary, we must ensure that such large commitments of taxpayers' dollars are properly used and that the money is properly managed. And obviously that the priority that Congress was hoping for, which is job creation, continues to be priority number one. So I look forward to all of you. I really thank you all for being here, for spending your time with us today. And again, I once again end by thanking the Chairwoman for having what I think is a very important oversight meeting. Thank you.